Carnotaurus. Its name translates into meat-eating bull. This dinosaurian was a medium-sized theropod that hails from South America, more specifically Argentina. In 1984, the first specimen was found, and what a beauty for paleontologists it was. Many bones of the skeleton were found, including the iconic 60 centimeter or 24-inch skull with a large horn above each eye and arms smaller than that of the iconic Tyrannosaurus rex. While the tyrant lizard king still had elbow joints and articulated fingers, Carnotaurus lacked both, and though had doubled the number of fingers. Along with an impressive skeletal find, the first specimen of Carnotaurus had an extensive skin impression. Fossilized skin impressions are rather rare, but the one found with this skeleton ranged from the lower jaw down to the upper ribs. The impression suggests that the species was unlikely to have feathers, and instead had scutes and scales. This means that Carnotaurus wasn't just a spiky boy on its head, but throughout its entire body. Although a medium-sized carnivore, this animal was 8 meters, or 26 feet, long. Most other carnivores of this size would be at least a 6 or so skull, but the Carnotaurus decided otherwise, and evolved a shallow snout. The skull was quite thin, more akin to a velociraptor skull than a Tyrannosaurus skull. In fact, it isn't quite fair to compare the Carnotaurus to Tyrannosaurus rex, for they are vastly different animals. One may give a passing glance and think they are similar, but they come from majorly different areas of the theropod tree. Truly, once you look closer at their most similar trait, their tiny arms, you gather a better picture of how different they were. Carnotaurus had 4 fingers instead of 2, but just barely. The bones of the forearm were shortened and fused extensively, to the point where any articulation was impossible. Even the fingers consisted of less bones and had no articulation. The arms pointed backwards as well, and likely had huge shoulder muscles attached to them, allowing the Carnotaurus to move their impressively articulated shoulder joint, a joint that was more articulated than most other dinosaurs, and swing out their arms. What this could have been used for is hard to say. Their tiny hands had no claws, so attacking was unlikely. Perhaps impressing mates is the most likely option. Carnotaurus was more adapted to running down its prey, similar to the hunting of the modern-day cheetah. The legs were lanky and the tail was stiffened with bony rods, making for a good counterbalance. However, when one is adapted to going fast, it becomes harder to cut corners by taking corners. If the Carnotaurus was running at high speed, a sudden turn would most likely make it tip over, as pictured in this art. How it actually attacked its prey, however, is more unclear. Studies of the jaw of Carnotaurus have been rather contested. While some say that the lower jaw had some articulation that may have allowed for swallowing small prey whole, others think that it was quite unlikely. Some say that Carnotaurus would be capable of strong bites that could incapacitate its prey with one chomp. Others claim that the jaw was a weak little baby and the animal would have to rely on multiple quick bites to wear down its meal instead. Onlookers from beyond the paleontological field may be wondering if the animal used its 2 impressive horns, that were likely covered in keratin and thus even larger in life, to hunt and headbutt its prey to potentially stun it, allowing for an easier kill. This is rather contested, as almost everything in the study of ancient animals is. Having such a shallow skull, yet large nose, does give merit to ramming prey. The skull being flatter on top may even suggest that two Carnotauruses could have had shoving matches, like modern deer, with similar motives of mace and territory. Yet, some studies think that the skull would have been too fragile for these activities, and the horns were instead just for display, like that of a peacock's tail or a lion's mane. After all, larger horns would mean a healthier male or female to mate with, or be more intimidating when defending territory. Whatever purpose the horns served, they certainly made for an impressive dinosaur with a unique silhouette, less likely to blend into the shadows with its fellow theropods beneath that of the Tyrannosaurus rex. Of course, Carnotaurus wasn't the only carnivore with horns. Ceratosaurus, for instance, had a rather impressively sized horn on the tip of its snout. Yet, this isn't a trait that is quite as common today in carnivorous animals. You may find insectivorous, I'm not doing another take, reptiles with horns, such as certain chameleon species. But other than that, it's a trait that has been left to time in herbivores. It brings one to wonder if it was useful in catching prey items, or if it was a method too direct to be used today. Either way, the Carnotaurus is a beautiful specimen of how strange dinosaurs could get, and is by far my favorite carnivorous species of dinosaur. But the Carnotaurus isn't the strangest of them all. Yes, it is strange, but dinosaurs could get even stranger, such as the Therizinosaurus with its 3-foot claws, or I can't remember the name, but there's another dinosaur with one single claw on arms that are even shorter proportionately to the Carnotaurus. It's amazing to think of what these animals were like and what they could be like for the species we may never find. Do you like the Carnotaurus I've drawn for you? You can find a colored version available for purchase on various products on the RedBubble store, which is linked below. My name is Bindu, that cool failure you know, and I will see you along the next terrible lizard. Goodbye, for now.